alone, choking for a long time. Swimming in your pussy, I'ma dive in. Your nigga keep blowing up your line, put it on silent. Okay, I just play my role. Told me we should take it slow.
All right, so welcome. I don't want to mess this up like I did last time. Doli had to help me out. So welcome back to Journey Between Black and Brown. And some of the faces are familiar and some of them are not. We have two additional guests today. Both of my homeboys, Jorge and Lawrence. And they're here to give their POV on today's topic, which is this is the last, I guess, somewhat installment until maybe a later date. And it is in regards to dating. So are the stereotypes true? Do Black men like Latin women more? Do they think, let's see, what did I say? Has there been a problem for anyone to date a Latin or Black person, whether a male or female? And how does this topic make you feel? Are Black women jealous of Latin women? And are Latin women stealing the Black men like the white women? I don't know. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So who would like to kick us off?
Doli, like, I have to come off a picture mode for this because wait a minute, what? All right, Tenilej, so you just dropped so much on us. What was the first question?
Okay, so the first question is, hold on, get it right. Are the stereotypes true? Do Black men like Latin women more? In regards to this, like you hear, they find non-Black women more exotic. Is there something a little special? I know they say they spicy, but
got a little kick.
Well, I can't speak for all Black men. I speak for myself for sure, but I don't believe the stereotype is true, and that in that way. I mean, if I think anyone anyway looks at any person different than who they're maybe raised with or accustomed to, as just something different. So it may be spun into a reality of exotic, just because it's something different. Just how when it comes to like your hairstyle or your makeup or what have you, always looking for something different in a sense.
Is that what you think, Lawrence?
Yeah, my personal perspective, yes. I don't think it's like an exotic thing anyway, because I mean, I don't know, just if I spin it out there if I look at a woman in Africa, in my opinion, I'm gonna think she's different, she's exotic, even though she's descended from the same, background as I. It's just because that's different place. I mean, different people have different mindsets of it as well too. And I think, me and you had a conversation more recently about kind of that stereotype and the perception of, even Black women looking at it differently. It's like, hey, like you mentioned earlier, are they stealing our men or what have you? But I don't per se that it's the same thing. You just look at somebody, at least the way I was raised, and you just kind of approach people as human beings, and things unfold.
Okay. Well, one of the ladies hop in. Have you heard? Okay, well, first of all, have y'all even heard of these type of things? Because this didn't come out my butt. Let me just say that.
So I've heard like some Black men say before, that they just don't date like Black women. They date outside of their race. But that was when I was younger, not so much as an adult. But like in high school, a lot I would hear, like, oh no, I just don't date Black women. But
interesting.
I think that's because people are sheltered at schools, and they only see their circle. And
right.
When they get out into the real world, everything changes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was kind of like that too. I was kind of like that too in high school. I mean, I was attracted to all type of women, but you see the same women or girls all the time. But working at Chase, working here, working there, you just see everything's different. You're not. Right. It's just open. You know what I mean? Right. There's no boundaries I don't want to say boundaries, but it's just open. So people's opinion change all the time. But I kind of get what you're saying though, Andy, because like when I was there, it was just like, I see the same girls all the time. So now I'm tired of seeing this girl. I want to see this girl kind of thing. But when you're out there, it's just all over.
Yeah.
I thought it was more so like, you know, growing up, you never really, well, I really didn't ask, but I thought it might have been, you know, like you said, what you see at home, or maybe your parents weren't the best, like role models, or, you know, they didn't see what they wanted to see from a relationship, and they like, nah, I'm good. Like, I just don't want to deal with that.
I don't want to go there.
I've dated a lot of Black men that have told me that they only date Latina, or that like, and so then I'm like, wait, so like, I'm like, you know, what? Like, you know, it like have actually told me like, oh, that's why they reached out, because I was Latina. I was like, huh? So I actually heard it from men that I've dated in the past. But
wow.
Have they ever said like specifically why? Because like I know for my siblings and I, like I don't know about right now, but I know at a certain point, all of our partners were not Black. And so, and it was like that for a long time. And so like for my sister, for example, like, it's not that she's not attracted to Black men, but she has like a different connection with, and her preference is Asian men. Like her boyfriend, who's been her only boyfriend, he's Filipino. And so that's what she's been attracted to. So I asked her, like, girl, like, is something wrong? You know, like, is it, you know, what is it? Especially like growing up, her and I are 6 years apart. So it's like, that's so interesting. And I've been like the whole rainbow, whatever. So I'm attracted to my beautiful Black brothers, you know what I'm saying? But so she'll say like, oh, they're cute, but they just don't move me. So I'm like, is that the same way for some Black men? Like, you know, have they had those type of conversations with you, like while you guys dated?
no, I think I just picked up on it. Like that, you know, they'll say things or do things. I'm like, wait, what? And you know, like, so it was never a full on conversation. Somebody did tell me, and it was because of the food, and I was like, okay, well, I don't like to cook, so I don't know how it's gonna work out for you, but
No, I'm really not the one.
So they thought they was gonna come up to some burritos and tacos or something.
Exactly. But I think like we've had this kind of conversation though in the past, with like the Black and Latinx kind of like resemblance of like culture, just like backgrounds and stuff. So I think for whatever reason, I think there is definitely something there. I just don't necessarily know. I can't speak for a Black man or any Black man, you know?
Right.
But I think definitely, you know, we've dove into the topic of like, you know, being raised in Black Latinx predominantly neighborhoods. So like, I feel like maybe that's why. But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think there's definitely like a relationship to it as well. The same here. I grew up in a family in a neighborhood where I had everybody was next door. I had a Filipino family next door. Had a Latin who I call cousin across the street. I have a bunch of people around my neighborhood, so a lot of people were connected to me, and I felt easily able to transition into those ethnicities, I guess, versus other ones. So Latin is something that just appealed because of that alone.
What about you, Dolly?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I really appreciate like that perspective, Lawrence, because like when I first saw like the first couple of questions when you sent them, I was like, okay, like I immediately thought of just like fetishizing women, like whether they are Black, Latinx, Asian. Like I feel like
Very
a lot,
true.
yeah, and like I feel like a lot in not just like I immediately went to hip hop culture, but it's like just cultures across the world where it's like there's certain features that are like fetishized than others, and there's women and men and non-gender conforming folks who like have these features, and therefore like somebody is attracted to that and they might connect it to like an ethnicity. So with that, like I've dated people in the past who are like, they didn't explicitly say that they dated me because I was Latina, but they were like, oh, like when you talk Spanish to like your family, like that shit turns me on. And I'm just like, okay, but I wasn't talking to you. You don't even know what I was saying. Yeah. And yeah. And I mean, and honestly, like that would make me feel uncomfortable, to be real. Like I would probably give a dude the only side eye if he dared to like ask me to call him Bobby or something like BS like that.
And
but
that's a type of fetish thing too,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But so like Lawrence's point, like, what was that?
No, I said I'm happy that you said men and women, because Tenilej put it on, you know, like black men, but I was like, no, women be having these fetishes too.
Mm-hmm. They do, yes. But I'm just going off of no, you're absolutely right. But I'm not just going off of like I said, I didn't pull out my butt, but this is the things that I've heard over the years, over and over. And not to say that it's not women, or it's not to say that it's not other races, because everything that you all have said is true. But since it's just the group of us, that's what it's tailored to. And so, and even with that, with the group of us, I've heard predominantly more men, you know, saying things like, you know, than women. Not to say that they don't say that, but y'all right though, for sure.
Yeah. I like I was saying, like, I really appreciate Lawrence's view, because I didn't consider that it's like, sometimes you're just attracted to people because, or it could be like an ethnicity because of like your upbringing and like your familiarity with it, and you just like being comfortable with it, maybe to the point where it's like, you don't necessarily prioritize their race as the reason that you like them, but there's like qualities of like their culture or their being, or like, you know, who they are, their family, that you're like, wow, like, I vibe with this, even if it's like not the same thing that we do at my house, or it's similar, that I should consider as well, like that I didn't consider initially, like when these questions were thrown at us, but definitely something that like I could totally understand, and probably align with too. Like a lot of the dudes that I've dated have either been Black, Latinx, from like, I don't want to say the hood, but like from like, you know, from the Black. And that's just like where I grew up, because that's like what I'm attracted to. And I mean, that's like that's what I've been attracted to, but it's also been like just the energy that I've been around growing up. So like I'm very much of just like, ooh, like I like their energy. And most times that is associated with like someone who is not white, essentially.
So has that? Go ahead.
No, I was saying, you know, it's like a swag, or like she said, an energy.
Yeah.
That
vibe.
The vibes, right? So has dating changed for anybody? Like, of course, naturally, because we're adults, we're older adults, but has it changed drastically in terms of like someone, Doli, is saying to you like, oh, I love when you talk to Spanish, even though you was talking to your mom, like, you know, are those instances still happening or no?
So I'll just be brief and say I'm whack. So no, I don't have any type of interaction like that, because I am so lame when it comes to shooting my shot that I'm like, I'd rather just like stay on the sideline and like not play the game.
I hear you.
What about you, Lawrence?
I mean, similar to Doli as well too. I don't think I like go out, you know, like hunting, if you want to put it in that perspective. Mine is always feeling. So I'm always feeling for a vibe. I'm always feeling for connection or something I can, you know, me personally, I'm searching for a friend, and then it develops into a relationship or anything else further than that.
I can definitely get behind that, Lawrence. I also look for friendship too. I'm not out there like you guys are hunting and all that either, but like working like in close quarters is like, for me, was always good, especially working at the bank with customers coming in and out. You meet different people. But yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback off of Lawrence. Sorry.
It's all good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm in a relationship. I've been in this relationship off and on for a long time. But what I can say, not even from my personal experience, whether it's been like a white person or a Black person or a Latin person, whatever, I found that men use like certain terms that I used to think was nice or cute or like flattering. They're not, like, in terms of, and not to get so deep into colorism, but it's like, dang, like, where are you from? Or like, what are you like? Your skin is different. Like, you look different. You don't look like an ordinary Black person. It's like, if you look at both my parents, I look like a Black person. I look like both of them combined. So, you know, it's just, you know, or like they have fetishes, or I've never really been with a Black girl before, or this, that, and other. Like, so, you know, to your, well, no, because Andrew was saying women have fetishes or whatever, but yeah, so like, I don't know. So I don't know how it is exactly at this current time. So
Yeah, I
that's
just
why
think I don't know. That's just so open ended. I mean, I think everybody has their own perspective once again of how that looks, and you know what Dolly was mentioning earlier as well too. You never know where your upbringing is, what you were taught, or what you were exposed to, and how that plays into like your
how that shapes
dating
a
and who you're
person.
looking for. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes even advances don't seem the same way. I was talking to someone who primarily dated, you know, white men, and she had no idea that there was another perspective, another, you know, spectrum out there for people who were attracted to her. And she didn't know she had that option in a sense. So even if advances came, I don't think her, you know, her walls were down to even receive them, because she was just so used to being in one pot. And so I think it all, you know, a lot of things go in play.
I think what helps is travel and just like being around different types of people and like expanding on that thing called friendship, you know, and so that you are made aware of certain things that you had no idea of. And that's really interesting, like that she had, you know, no idea, like, oh, well, you know, these other groups of people may find me attractive and I may have a good time with these types of people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's kind of deep, actually.
I've heard that before. So it was interesting that you mentioned that, you know, where a woman has felt like, I'm only talking to white men because Black men don't find me attractive.
Mm-hmm. Which is not true. That's deep too. That's
the environment. So if you're, you know, like stuck in this environment and then you go somewhere else, like Lawrence was saying, your guard is up now to where that's kind of like it's literally something like that. And what show was I watching? Dear White People. And the girl literally was just talking to white. I know that's a good show, but she was just talking to white men because he didn't think that the Black man would be attracted to her because she was different, or you know, like bougie, I guess, like stuck up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like, is that our conversation? Like, I just thought this was gonna be more explosive. Like, I just even.
But you want the juice, man? You want the tea? Come on, what you want?
No, I don't want deep dark secrets and like crazy stuff like that. But just like, for instance, like 50 Cent, he said something and social media tore him. Or they tried to tear 50 Cent another hole. You know, 50 Cent, you can't tear him no hole. He's 50 Cent, he don't care. But he was saying that
9 times. I see. I got the joke.
Right.
But he said something in regards to, you know, not that he doesn't like Black women, but, you know, I don't want to misquote him, but it was something that offended many Black women. And he dates, I mean, I think the woman he's dating now is like, I don't know, I think Latin or some sort of mixed or whatever, but it's back to that stereotype, right? You know, that Black men or certain men, and just, you know, men in general find certain types of women more exotic than other types of women.
That's true. And like,
all right, can I play devil's advocate here?
Yes.
Because earlier you had said something about Black women, or somebody said something about Black women not dating Black men. Mm-hmm. So I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like, if Black women don't want to date Black men, then Black men, they ain't got no pull from, so they're going elsewhere. I guess I don't know if I have a question or thought, but like, how do y'all feel about that? Like, you know, have you guys heard, or have you ladies heard, like, oh, we don't want to date Black men?
Well, that's what I was saying. My sister hasn't said specifically like those words, but that's pretty much what it is. And I don't want to say that's what it is because she's been with the same person. This is her first boyfriend, and they've been together for like 10 or 12 years. So that's it. Maybe it'd be a little different if she continued to date, other men that were not Black, or the same thing for my brother if he dated other women that were not Black. I would question and be like, we all have the same mom and dad, and they both Black. So what's up? But that's not how it is. And so, and also to Lawrence's point, that's not how we were raised either.
Exactly. I was going to say
that.
Okay.
Also too, like most of my family obviously is Black, but we have various cousins that married outside the race and have children and this, that, and the other. And then I'm one of those people as well. So it's like, it is what it is. But I did hear something too. I don't want to say that it was Black women not wanting to date Black men, but it was saying, and I don't know how true this is, but it was saying that Black women and Asian men are the least desirable in the dating pool.
Black women and Asian men?
Yes. And I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I do remember hearing some talks about that. And I don't know if it was just like on TV or what.
Mm-hmm.
I like to put things in like a real app, like real perspective. If you can just pull back your own life and your own friendships and your own people who are around you in your circle and just put those relationships together. Like, have you seen that type of setup, often?
I haven't.
So,
No.
Me either.
Weird. I haven't. This thing
you see
now,
some.
I really haven't. And my family is really blended. Like, we just have a lot of different people in our family, but we don't have any Asian and Black people.
I have Filipinos in my family, and I have some cousins that are half Black, half Filipino. But it's the men, it's Black men with the Filipino women mostly. My sister, I think, is the only one that I can think of right now. That's the woman, that's the Black woman, and the man is Asian, is Filipino. But yeah, I don't see that flip. You're right. That's a good point, Lawrence. Like, I don't see like a lot of Black women with Asian men. I see it
the other way around.
I don't, I can't pull up, statistics and kind of run you on that. I don't have anything in front of me. But like I said, I always try to put things in real life perspective. And, you look at it like I mentioned to you earlier, there's somebody I spoke with who only thought that their only option was either messing with their people, which was an Asian culture, or messing with a white man. Like that's what their options were. That's what they thought. And like I said, I think some of those things are, maybe if it's a culture related or if it's, kind of bred it in, I'm not sure how it relates, but you would kind of transition that over into, another, slot where how often would you see, like you said, a Black woman with an Asian man? Like, when do you see that being okay? Only time I've seen it, me personally, is either it's he's mixed, he's Black and Asian, and he's with a Black woman, or, he was somebody who was around the family, around, friends, and then they kind of hooked up and, related to each other that way.
Yeah.
So I did a quick look up of I literally just put least desirable gender and race for dating. And there was a report that came up on NPR, which was copied from or obtained data from a survey done on OkCupid, and it turned out that men were least likely to find Black women attractive. And granted, this is a survey from 6 years ago, but I'm sure now with the rise of Tinder, Hinge, and all these other online apps, that I wouldn't be surprised if more data has been collected and analyzed around gender and race. And I'm sure it'd be more interesting to look at it by location, if you were to do it in the South versus in San Francisco, where it's a lot more diverse. And I can't name a place in the South, but the South is diverse as well. But a small town in the South. But I did want to ask you all a question, one, to keep this conversation going, and it just like came about that like we are talking about family, and we're talking about it in the lens of like how like mixed families are, but what about like families that are some are to the extent are like trying to preserve the race. So like some families are like, oh, like, nah, I'm marrying Black, I'm procreating Black because like I want to grow the Black population, like it is my duty, or like just because like that's what they want to do, or like if anyone in your family, or if you've heard of, if you have like or you've thoughts of certain family members being like, no, don't date Black, or don't date Latinx, don't date white because of XYZ.
I think that's more for like grandparents, because my grandparents are like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They won't flat out say it, but they'll give you those looks. They'll give you those little, you know, just little looks. I think it's more for like the older generation. I think with my parents going down to me, I think it's just pretty much open. I mean, no one. It's my upbringing was mainly just I was surrounded by Mexican, El Salvador, just Latinos. So that was Los Angeles, but coming here to Pittsburgh, that's when everything opened up. But it was always the same. It was just people being people, humans being humans. And I actually asked my mom, like, what would you think if I dated a Black girl? She said the most, I guess, beautiful thing I ever heard. She goes, love is love. It doesn't matter. If you love the person, it is.
I
So
love
like,
your mama. Make sure you
Right?
You sound like the girl
love,
from Friday. Tell your mama I love her.
You know I love your mama.
Right.
So just love it. But I was like, okay, so what does grandma think? She goes, okay, that's another story. But she'll never flat out say it, right? But she will accept it. But she's more on the lines like stick to your own race kind of thing. But I guess that's just like I said, we grew up. Well, they grew up in Mexico, came to LA, and at that time it was Black and brown there was no relation.
Right.
So that's where they're coming from, right? So I didn't see that. So I just saw kids playing. I want to go play. Growing up with kids, we just playing. And then coming to Pittsburgh, like I said, coming to Pittsburgh, Antioch, that's when I really saw Asian, Black, white, like things like, okay, well, people are people. And like I said, that's just like, I don't know, I'm just talking, sorry.
No,
this is what this is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm gonna be like put myself on the hot seat. So I think I only have ever dated Black or Latino men, but more consciously, like now I really won't date Latino men. It really has nothing to do with Latino men. It has to do with the patriarchy behind the Latinx culture. That for me, like that's why I would say that I predominantly only date Black men. Because those are my two options, and I think that I'm so against the patriarch norms in the Latinx culture, so that's what turns me off acting to Latino men. And it's more so, I don't even think it's necessarily the men Latino men that I've dated themselves, but the family and society around it. And for that reason, I think I'm more comfortable dating, you know, Black men, because Asian or white is just not gonna happen for me. So, but it's interesting because it's not so much, you know, but it's more of like I don't know. I think like I wouldn't say but the expectations are different even between those two groups.
Right.
And I don't know if it's in my head or it's in the family, like, you know, just like comments and things, but I'm, you know, the other day we got into it with my parents, and I was calling my dad out on his shit. He was like, no, I'm not patriarchal. I'm not machista. I'm like, when was the last time you washed your plate? And he goes, but your mom likes to do that. And I'm like, no, you don't pick up your plate off the table because you think is my, you know. And we went and like I think, you know, with different cultures, expectations are a little bit different. And, you know, I would say that my dad was definitely not like super patriarchal in the sense of there's like men that have like huge egos in the Latinx culture, but I think like, you know, it's just like, and it's not even the men, it's also the women that perpetrate this. because that's how they were raised. Like my mom, I remember my mom and dad were sitting there, and he goes, well, that I like to do that. I'm like, do you realize you like to do that because you saw your mom do that, and you think you like to do that, but do you really like to do that? And you know, and it, you know, and they take it as like it's the part of their role, you know, and so for me, dating Black men, it's just been a different experience, in the way that you treat like the relationship between men and women. And so I think for me, that's, you know, a big factor as to why it's more so that I don't date Latino more so than I'm just like, I only date Black men. But like, you know, in practice, then it looks like I only date Black men, but it's really because I'm not dating like Latino.
Like, I think I like this.
Well, that makes sense though, because of like your upbringing and what you see. And like you said, it gives you a disconnect. It turns you off. And so you become more attracted to something else.
Right.
And that makes total sense.
Yeah, I think on outside looking in, like what Brenda's saying, I do see that sometimes here in my house. It's like, I always look at things the way my parents do it, but then I look at things like, okay, what not to do. In a sense, where like, not saying that my dad won't wash his plate, but kind of piggyback off of Brenda. Like, I see that with my grandparents, I see that with my aunts and uncles, and it's always the women are catering to the men, and it's, at some point I'm just thinking like, okay, are you gonna get up and throw your own plate? You know, are you gonna get up and get your own water, kind of thing? And don't get me wrong, like sometimes, you know, if you ask like mom, can you give me can you grab me a water? You're there. But seeing that and like growing up with that, I feel like, I don't know, it's something in me that I want to change that, in the sense where I want to be the guy. Oh, here, I'll get that plate for you, or I'll get whatever. You know, it's just, I see what Brenda's saying on the outside, but that's definitely got to change. And I think that's why. How do I say it? I think that's why I'm more open to just any race, because the way I would just treat women, I guess. Like, I don't see that. I don't see me doing things like that. Like,
it's so interesting hearing everybody's perspectives, because as we're talking, I'm just thinking about so many movies where, you know, like they make references about different things like that. And it's so funny because you would, like, a lot of things that I've heard is that, you know, like Black women and Latino women are actually similar in a lot of ways, because basically we talk back. And like, I've heard that white women are, you know, like more submissive. And listen, like Tenilej said, don't look at me like that. I'm just saying what I heard.
From my experience.
You can order takeout. Like, that's funny. So.
Yeah, and I don't want to put out there that my dad treats my mom wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, there's just little things you see out there.
Right.
It's just,
but you know what, Jorge,
different roles are set in the house.
But Jorge, knowing you though, I mean, you know, you have good parents. They brought you guys up very well, and you know, also too, like your personality. That's how you are though, and I think like whoever you may date and at the time or end up marrying or whatever, like I think that's the type of man you are. You know, you're not gonna be waiting for whoever to like, you know, pick up your plate when you're done. You know, like you would chip in. I think also too, it does, as I hear the conversation going on, it's a shift that is changing too with age, with the generations. It seems like.
I say 100%. It's a shift.
Yeah. So, you know, which is a great thing. You know, not you can still hold on to certain values, but to the ones that you respect, that everyone respects. And so that's what I hear too, even with the difference of the preferences and things of that nature. It's not always looked through as the quote unquote old lens, like, you know, grandparents or great grandparents and things of that nature, because they do try to, you know, not even intentionally, but just having like conversations and how you see them interact with other types of people, you know, it can fall upon you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, to Brenda's point too, I think it's about appreciation and like a lot of different things you'll see too. And I think if we or, you know, I can't say, you know, everyone once again, but if we appreciate each other more and more, as we've seen in these times now, we appreciate, you know, our other partners, you know, more and more, you don't blend color into that. Like you get that love, like you were saying too, Jorge, you get that, you know, that continuous love, and that changes things. You don't see anything else besides that. And a lot of that goes into, you know, what you were saying, Brenda, just the roles that we had set, you know, in previous times like that, you know, they try to roll down on us as well. And I think more days and more currently, which we definitely got to find a balance for, but more people appreciating each other and wanting to do more and wanting to bring more to the table kind of gets away from those roles that we play. Because some people think, you know, only one party is supposed to take out the trash, only one person's cooking, only one person's cleaning. Well, we all play a hand in our relationships.
Right. And also too, I think it's like however you create your relationship, right? Like what works best for those two individuals in that union. I mean, that's what I think overall. You know, something, because I don't take out the trash. I don't. And unless he's not here, unless he's out of town. I don't want, no. And that has nothing, and also too, I guess also too, that's how I'm brought up. Like my dad, my mom never take out the trash. You hear me? She's not taking out nobody's trash, okay? Y'all here who know her knows she's not taking out nobody's trash, okay? And also too, because you know, it was three of us. She raised three kids, and then we had to clean. And then my dad, you know, he worked, and when she wasn't working, then you know, she's definitely tending to the addition to, you know, tending to the home and to her children and whatnot. But yeah, definitely not taking out the trash. I mean, that's something that's, you know, I don't know. I'm not doing that. But
it's not that bad, too.
You the problem, Tenilej. You the problem. No,
it's really not that bad.
It can be. And so I take it out when I need to. But also too, that's for me also being somewhat like her in that way, but also too, like I was Cinderella growing up. So like, you know, in middle school, I really knew how to clean, you know, and I always say this, I knew how to clean. Even my mom would say that I knew how to clean better than most women who were married. So, you know, motherfucker get tired, okay? So if you don't mind taking out the trash, boo, I appreciate it. And I am appreciative, okay? I appreciate you.
I'll be honest, I guess, yeah, taking out the trash is more of a guy thing, I guess. But I mean, it is what it is.
I take out my own trash. I got this girl power.
See, I knew it. I knew he's gonna come through for me.
It don't even matter. Yeah, nothing to do with gender roles, race.
Get it.
She ain't taking out the trash.
I don't live by myself. When I live by myself, of course, I took out my own trash, right?
Nah, you called me a couple times.
I'm not waiting to nobody, no man come over for your vid. You know, you hanging out and oh, by the way, you know,
yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You did put that on.
I'm not waiting. I would ask you, but I'm not waiting. I would ask you, sure.
Oh, you waiting?
But I'm not waiting.
You waiting?
But since that's not the situation here, we live. So sure, take out the trash, boo. Take out the trash. So, but yeah, that's just part of also my upbringing. But those are some things too. Like maybe somebody else would not want to. If I was with someone else, they're like, okay, well, these, you know, you're kind of into gender roles. Yeah, you know, like I'm not with that. And then that's something that if I cared about my relationship with that person, then that's something I would have to unlearn. And I probably should try to unlearn it anyways. Will I? I don't know. But if y'all keep encouraging me, I'm sure I would.
So we're going to be texting you every week.
Right.
Get it. Go ahead.
Close. Listen.
So yes,
I'll cook. I'll start the load for you. But can you fold this as soon as?
Well, that's what I do, you know, because that's the thing too. So I cook, I clean, I do laundry. Who likes to do laundry? You know. So, but I mean, it's a give and take too. So sometimes he does laundry. So I mainly do laundry. But that's the thing. So it's just about what works best. And I think what Lauren says really brings home, especially for me, it's just being appreciated. You know, no matter like what the situation is, just understanding and appreciating one another. So yeah.
Now, are gender roles a habit, or are they just that's what they are?
I think they're ingrained. So in a way, it's like a habit, habit that it's not something like a habit. Like I'm trying to wake up at 6 a.m. every day. Like that's something that I'm trying to push myself to do. I'm not trying to clean up after somebody else unless like I want to, as like, you know, and that's how, and I feel like that's how like the women in my family have, you know, communicated that, where I'm like, why are you cleaning up after him? Like, he can pick up his own plate. Like, when I go to DR, like, people get tired of me because they'll be like, oh, we're on our way. Make us coffee, make us this, make us that. And I'm like, I'm going to make coffee for myself. And if there's some left over, y'all could come, y'all could make some. And, like, it is like, who are you calling me telling me to make you something?
Starbucks.
Yeah, like, do I look like it? No, I'm not a mermaid. It's not happening.
I'm curious because I'll speak for Jorge, Brenda, and Doli. In the Latinx culture, the gender roles are very much like, you know, normalized, and it's very much like patriarchal. You know, in the Black communities, that's something that you think is also true. Because going back to like my original point of like why the dating Latino men, it's more of a turnoff. It has a lot to do with the culture part of it, of like, I don't want nobody in your family asking me to serve your plate. Like, ain't gonna happen just because I'm a woman. And nothing to do with because I'm your partner. It's literally because
you're a woman.
Yeah, because that's the expectation of a Latina woman, you know?
Wait, before you go further, so any Latino woman like could make your man play?
Yeah, like,
like, no, I'll make my man play. Don't bring my man no plate, girl.
No, but it's like no, like for example, if I go to a tia's house, like let's just go to Mexico. When I go to Mexico,
right?
Like the women don't eat until the men sit down, and you got to be a part of that like whole like. You're gonna flip the tortillas. You're on the scooping the bean. Like it's not that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's very much. I mean, every family's different, you know, and it varies. But the patriarchy is so ingrained that people think it's like normalized, right? It's like so like I'd be damned. So I'm the like outcast every time that I go to Mexico, where I'm like one of the only few of my cousins that went to school. Most of them became moms at like 15, 16 years old. Like. I don't got a husband, don't got, you know, and I'm over here like, I'm gonna go here. And they're like, well, why are you always traveling? Why don't you sit down? Why don't you do, you know? And so like, and that's more of a traditional, but even when I think about it here, like when I think about just my own family, you know, it's very much like that. Like where like, that's like, there's like certain roles for a woman. And even if she works, there's still an expectation that she has to do it. And like recently my mom was in Mexico for almost all of last year, actually, kind of on and off, but like at least, you know, a good part of the year she was gone, because she was there 3 times, but she spent a couple months each time. And I would literally have to go home to do my dad's laundry. You a grown ass man, but my dad would not do the laundry. My mom wasn't there, so he didn't have no clean drawers. Like I literally had, like it was the expectation of me. And it was so interesting because I mentioned that I was talking to them earlier. It was something stupid, like a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, no, Dad, like, don't you remember? Like, you were literally starving because you won't turn on the stove to, like, cook something. And it's just, and he was like, oh, that's just, you know, I don't, you know, what? And I'm like, no, Dad. Actually think about it. Like, are you capable of turning on the stove and making some eggs? It's just like, yes, you are. Like, you just choose not to because you don't think that's not the expectation of you, you know? And we were like breaking it down, and like he was just kind of like, oh. And then I think something happened where he came into the house hella mad, like 2 days later. It was like, I'm hungry. What are we going to eat? Where's the food? And I looked at him and I'm like, oh, but you're not patriarchal, right? Because he literally asked, he came for me, my mom, because we hadn't made the food. And we were like, we didn't know y'all were hungry. Like, what? Like, you know? And I'm like, if you were hungry, you could have just
say handle that.
Go eat.
There's fruit.
Yeah, but no, so I'm curious as to if you all see gender roles, and I mean every family's different, but I think in a good majority, maybe Doli and Jorge, if that's not your family. And I like to think my parents are pretty liberal and more progressive than some of like other people. Like they're actually kind of with it, you know, but you still see it in those ways that are like not so subtle. I mean, you want to say they're subtle and they're like, you know, you don't even think about it, but like when you actually like, you know, peel that onion, like you're like, you don't even really gotta peel that much, and it's right there in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. At least in my household, I was raised differently. I grew up a little differently. I'm more like Tenilej. My mom had me doing everything as a kid. I think I was cleaning toilets when I was like 6, 8. You know, cleaning the house. I had the house clean top to bottom. You know, I was in the kitchen helping her cook, bake. So a lot of different things I was just doing, taking out the trash. Like I did a roundabout of everything. So for me, it's different because I bring, like I said, all this to the table. And for me, if I do cook a meal, like I'll put food on a plate. You know, I'll bring it off and I'll clean it. Like that's just what I would do. And opposite, I would expect the other. You know, and to me, it's like I said, appreciation thing. It's also, you know, like giving. To me, it feels better to be able to give you a meal, provide for you that meal, and you know, take it off the plate as well too, and you know, clean it up. Like I want to do the whole.
I got some good male friends. I love y'all. Y'all so good.
I like that you said that because I feel like that's how my grandparents were. Like my grandpa cooked. Not saying my grandma didn't, but majority of the cooking my grandfather would do. And like the kids would sit down and eat first. You know, like the kids get their plates, then the women, and then the men. So that's what I saw growing up. But for whatever reason, my son wakes up during COVID-19. I guess this is just the best time of his life because he woke up not too long ago and he was like, it'd be nice if I could wake up to breakfast, you know, every once in a while. I said, ain't that something? I said, it'd be nice if I woke up to a plate too. So I don't know where he came from, but he didn't pick up what my grandpa was doing.
Yeah, it's funny.
Look
So,
at
yeah,
how Tenilej is frozen.
Tenilej.
No, wait, let me screenshot this.
Please. Oh my goodness. She like, wait, what?
No.
Oh my goodness. So I just thought that was.
She made that face when you said my son woke up and
Juan and Tenilej have the same birthday. So a lot of things that my son does, I feel like him and Tenilej are similar. Maybe it's a Taurus thing, but yeah, so that's funny. And also I was thinking about cleaning up, how Lauren said that, you know, he grew up doing a lot of cleaning. I feel like that's something else that I saw in the household is like men cleaning up just as much as the women, like if not more.
Yeah, see, I didn't see that, so that's why I'm so afraid to do.
That wasn't in my circle.
For us, it was more us boys were outside cleaning the yard.
Right.
And then mom was in
doing
the rooms and not necessarily the rooms, but like the living rooms and the kitchen.
Right, yeah.
But I would have so much rather been inside the house.
Right.
Cleaning that yard. And that's what I do now for a living.
You know, no, that's a good point that you bring up. Like my mom, I remember wanting to throw away the trash. Like, oh yeah, like I'll just go. Like my brother doesn't have to go. She was like, no. And it was mainly because she didn't want me going outside. Like she was like, no, like let the boy do it. Like he could go outside. You'll get snatched up or whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine. But
did I just
no, boys get snatched up too.
I know, right? Like everybody's getting snatched out here.
But even that, like I have an older brother, right? And an older sister. Like the girls didn't get to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
But the men did.
Like you said, boys snatched up too. Same thing. But that's always what we hear, you know, like watch out, you know, women don't go anywhere by yourself. Like you don't really hear that as much with men.
Women couldn't go out regardless when I was dating.
Right.
High school and out, like dating girls, like it was such a hassle just to get a girl out to the movies or whatever. Or it had to take the sister with them. I was like, man, I can't take the sister. So, but for us, it was like I have a little sister, and she's 8 years younger than me. So at that point, I was already doing my thing and doing her thing. She got pregnant. It was like, oh well, we're adults, whatever. You're pregnant. But yeah, I was like having to take a girl out because it was just 3 boys and 1 girl for me. Having to take a girl out was such a hassle. At the point, I was like, I don't want to take you out no more.
Right. Like, I don't even want to talk.
Yeah, we got to make the best of this because this might be a once in a month type thing. Or...
Right.
There's a saying, I don't know, Jorge and Doli, if you all have heard of this, but it's very common in my household or in the family. And it says, ya te puedes casar, which means you can get married now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you make you make rice.
The version that I get is every Thanksgiving, Christmas, y el novio, where's the boyfriend? When are we going to see him? When are we going to meet him? And what I, like, one thing that I've noticed is, like, my boy cousins, they will bring any girls who have husbands at home, like, on a family trip, to the family dinners, to all that. Put all their business out there. And all the girls, at least me and like my cousins who grew up in the States, like who identify as female, like we keep our stuff on lock. Like we're like, nah, like y'all don't need to know about nobody until I say so. Like I'll be ready to
that's my husband.
But like
the novio's the marido. Like
but that saying though, right? Like ya te puedes casar means you're ready to be married. And it comes after a woman, because I've never heard anybody say that to a man. Right. I've never heard that. I've heard it said like, "Oh, I'll make some rice, or I make a meal, or whatever. I clean." And it's like, "Oh, you can get." It's an approval. Like you can get married now. So like that's how so ingrained it is. And so you go back to like the original point of this discussion, because I think we went into the gender norms, but like that for me is why I don't necessarily date within my race.
Right.
And because I've only really been like exposed to Black or Latinx like cultures, and I'm not very like trying to go into why, like it's just not what I'm doing. You know, it would just come off as like that I'm only dating Black men, but I think it's very much like a self-cultural thing that I'm just like haven't been able to work through, I guess.
Well, let me ask you, Brenda, do you think, like with me, my parents had us young, so we kind of seen our parents grow up, so everything changed, right? As far as the gender roles have changed, as far as whatever role there is has changed. Now, do you think in our generation, I'm 36, you think that maybe people like 36, 30 in this age range, we haven't changed that? Is that why, or you just don't want to try to date a Latino? You're out. My thing is black men. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, and I think of what Doli said earlier, you know, from the block, right? If you're Latino from the block, maybe we can go there. But I think there's still like like speaking about like your older generation,
right.
Just because maybe you didn't think that way, or you know your partner doesn't think that way, I think there's still a societal expectation within it. So maybe like my grandchildren might not think that, you know, but even men who, you know, like-minded like yourself, that, you know, it's like, oh, I don't believe that, but when you go home, when you meet their family, oh, she's not gonna, like, it's like their mom's coming, like, it's their mom coming for you now. You're saying I'm right.
You're right.
And I've never necessarily experienced that with Black men, where it's just like always kind of been a partnership, like, you know. And so I think for me that's a motivating factor to go sway that way. But yeah, I know I don't think I had ever processed it or thought about it until I kind of was reading your questions, and I'm like, why do I only kind of date Black men? And I was like, it's like, it's not even that you're going that way, it's just like you're kind of so detoured out, right? And I think that being said, love my Latino men, you know, but we got some work to do in the house.
I have a question for you, Brenda and Doli too.
Oh, there she goes.
I'm here. Can you see me? No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I went away. I don't know what happened. But anyhow, the men that you dated, did they come from 2-parent homes?
Most of them haven't.
I've had a little bit of both.
And I just asked that because I'm just thinking of like, even though I come from a 2-parent home, I can't say that my mom has ever said like, you must make, you know, whoever's plate, you know, because you're a woman. But my mom definitely catered and still does to a degree, you know, to my father. You know, like my cousin told me this memory, this childhood memory that she said and I'm like, okay, I can't say that's not true because that's your memory. But she said like your mom made us like some top ramen, some crazy.
Ooh,
and then made your dad like this nice like bomb dinner. And I was like, dang, swear, you know, and I'm sure there's some truth to it, you know what I'm saying? Cause I'm like, dang.
Top ramen,
but my
though,
mom definitely does.
Hot water.
But you know, she definitely did cook for all of us, and sometimes she would cook him something like an actual more of a dinner, and then us more like a kiddie meal. And so I think that's what she experienced one of her visits with us. But it just made me think like, even with my boyfriend, my partner, like, you know, I always ask though, you know, because I see my mom do that with my dad to this day, you know, do you want me to make your plate? But I'll ask, you know, I just won't assume. And sometimes he'll like, yeah, go ahead, you know, you already know what I want or whatever, or I want X, Y, and Z. Or he'll be like, oh no, it's cool, I'll make my own plate. And then sometimes he makes my plate. But for me to always cater to him, I do always ask like, oh, that's something like automatic, you know. And same thing even with my brother. My brother though, he his last girlfriend, they was together for a long time, but the last time they were down, he made her plate. I'm just thinking about things that we're talking about, like he catered to her. So I don't know if it's because of like, again, how we were raised, you know, and would it have made a difference if our father was not in the picture or out of the home? I'm not quite sure, you know, because I don't see like, in my mind, I don't see like Black men being like, you know, you have to do this or, and that type of patriarchy, like order.
What if we look at it in the sense where it's not catering, it's just I'm gonna make dinner for me. Can I make dinner? Should I make dinner for you? Kind of thing.
Well, that's how people look at it now, I guess. But I'm just thinking about what Brenda was saying, and even with Doli, like, I mean, especially then, you know, my parents have been together since they were 20, and they'll be 62 in December. So it's been a long time, and my mom used to, maybe not so much just overall in their marriage, but she used to really cater to him. And I think that's also too from her upbringing, because she was raised with her grandparents, her grandfather, her grandmother, and I remember my great grandmother. What you said? You think all Black women did? Oh, I don't know. Bring that up in a minute, Brenda. And my great grandmother, she tended to my great grandfather. So I don't know, you know. But he wasn't like you know. I'm just wait. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't even alive. He died before I was alive. But you know, I'm just remember hearing stories my mom was saying like she used to do a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking like, gosh, is it just men in general to some degree expect certain things? I don't know.
Right. I think that times were different, so there were some things, you know, like
that were similar.
Right.
Right, within certain cultures, yeah.
But now I feel like, what were you gonna say, Jorge?
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's good. But no, I was just saying, I feel like, you know, that was kind of just like with the times, like that's a way for women to make their men feel special, because obviously if you're talking about your great grandparents or even your great grandparents.
Yeah, my great grandparents, yeah.
Some things that were way different than now. So maybe as a Black woman, me making your plate and just letting you know that you are the man and that I'm here to like cater to you might have been like just the thing to do.
So let me ask the ladies. Now, I've only seen growing up with my parents. I never lived with my grandparents. I never lived on both sides. But we grew up, it was kind of one person worked, just for the simple fact that my parents were undocumented, right? So my dad had to work, and he wasn't working no lavish job. He was working 2 or 3 jobs. My mom couldn't work. Now the question is, and I've never really asked my mom. I'm probably gonna ask her when I after this call. But would it be like maybe she felt bad because she's not working, so let me fix dinner, let me, you know what I'm saying? Like
For
not
my
necessarily
mom,
gender role, but
well,
more like, well, you're out there working, let me do something around the house kind of thing. Not
Trying
because
to
you're
bring
a man,
value.
not because you're the one working, just feel like you kind of want to. Again, I mean, I'm asking you ladies. I should ask my mom, but I mean, how would you ladies take it in that sense?
I just say this, like my mom, so she was a stay-at-home mom for most of my childhood, and sometimes she would take like corporate jobs. But when my father, to me on the outside looking in, because I'm not her, like I should ask her too. You know, but my dad said after she had, I'm the oldest and my brother's in the middle, my sister's the youngest. But after she had my brother and we're all 3 years apart, like he told her, you know, she didn't have to work. Now, mind you, my dad worked for the post office. He's since retired. But, you know, that, you know, it's a decent paying job. And even then, that's towards the beginning of his career. So it wasn't like he was making stellar dollars, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that to your question, Jorge, I think part of that was that type of agreement. Like you stay home and take care of the children. We know that they're safe, and also to save money on daycare, which is something that a lot of people can relate to today. You know, but also too, I think it's both. I think partly because of that was how their partnership was built at that time, and I think that's how she was raised, you know. But also too, when you love people, like when you love the person, you know, you do things that will make them happy, you know, and if they're delighted from certain things. But I think the difference is culturally, like if sometimes like, well, dang, I don't feel like making a damn plate, you know, then you still feeling like, well, I have to do this, you know, and there's like no break. There's no like consideration for the other person. It's just like Brenda says, like it's just expected of you automatically because of of how who you were born to be. So I think that's the difference. That's what I've experienced, and that's what, again, from the outside looking in. But for today, I think that if I was able to stay home and my partner went to work, you know, I'm a person that have an entrepreneurial spirit. So I would still like obviously take care of home and make sure like things are not crazy and out of order by the time he gets home. But I would still want to work for myself to some degree. And then just, you know, it's, you know, make sure everything is good. You don't want to come home from work, whether you're a man or a woman, and your house is a mess. And that's even if you live with a roommate. It's like, yo, again, to being appreciated and considered. So that's my take on that. Ladies.
I think you touched on all the points.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I've worked since I was 14. Like, I'm probably going to work until the day I die. Like, okay, maybe not until the day I die. I'm definitely going to retire. But I mean, I don't have kids, but I would envision myself, like, providing for them. And I've thought about the idea of, like, because I really want kids. Like, I don't have children. I'm not in a relationship where I'd want to procreate with someone, but I'm also okay with like having kids and not being like with that person for life. Like I'm okay with like having kids with somebody who will give 100% as much as like I do to that child, whether it's financially, emotionally, like we'll be there for them. Like I'm very comfortable with that. So as we talk about just like how ideologies are like moving to like, I think that's one thing that I think, I don't know, I can't speak for my cousins, but at least for me, I've gone from like being like, oh, I have to get married, like it's a commandment, or like, you know, it's just like the thing I have to accomplish in life, where it's like, nah, like I don't need to get married to have a kid. I don't need to be tied to a person legally to have a child. I could still do what I want in my life and like continue to like share love, spread love the way that I want to with who I want to. So with all that being said, I'm like, you know, you don't need to be, we don't need to be in the same tax bracket, but you gotta be in some tax bracket. Like you gotta be making something to make sure that you're providing for yourself
That's fair.
and for the person that you're bringing into this world. Because if it's one thing, I'm like, yeah, like it takes two people to make a person. It should take two people to make sure that they're like a whole person, a whole just like global citizen who like embodies like the great things that you want to put out in this world.
Amen.
Yeah, that was beautifully said.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
I feel that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this was great. I appreciate all of you. I mean, so in conclusion, before we close, I mean, any final thoughts on what we
I want to
discussed?
clarify something.
Like, takeaway. Go ahead.
I said I was whack earlier, and I honestly want to redact that because, to be real, I'm not whack. Let's be
No,
honest.
you're not, Doli.
Not at
When you
all.
said that, we're all like,
Yeah, I didn't believe it when you said it.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
didn't believe it.
that.
I'm
I
not
was
whack. I think I've come across a lot of whack people, so I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna take a season off. I'm gonna take a couple seasons off, and I'm gonna see what's going on sideline.
Yeah. You just invested in yourself right now. That sounds
Just
good.
clarifying that, okay?
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, promote
Me, it's
yourself,
you.
uplift yourself. You are
Hey,
amazing.
Word.
Listen, everybody that's on this this call right now, this episode is a step up. So whoever ends up with all of us, they are blessed. Okay.
Yes.
So get into it.
Word. Get
So,
into it.
Love is love, like my mama says. Love is love.
Right. Well, I'm happy we were able to do this. It was
any final thoughts though before, like any takeaways from this conversation before we close the episode? Or is it same old, same old? Is it business as usual?
No, it's not. I feel like I learned a lot from what you all had to say. Like,
Likewise.
I think I appreciate, Tenilej, you always, and Andy, like, y'all always bringing us together to, like, see each other's perspectives, because especially, like, you bring open-minded people as well who are not, like, hard on their own opinions. I think it's beautiful that we can share our stories, our experiences, which are facts, and our opinions that, like, can bring light to other people's, like, experiences and, like, perspective moving forward. So yeah, I learned a lot from y'all, that it's like, you know, like, why, like, we talked about the patriarchy, we talked about fetishizing things, we talked about like
Gender roles.
Gender roles, yeah.
Gender, yeah, like we talked about it all. So yeah, like I'm leaving with just like the continued idea as I move on with romantic and like platonic relationships of just having an open mind, because how I might perceive things might be wrong.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say wrong, but it's just everybody's different, no better, no worse. It's just different. So I wouldn't say wrong, but just different.
But you're not making anybody else man no plates, okay?
Unless it's coming out of love. Okay? I will follow y'all plates. Okay.
Yeah, you know, this weekend I made someone slave, but you know.
No, don't do that. Put that down. Who that plate for? Not my man.
It better be for yourself. Oh, it's for me. It's for me.
I bet Andy said, if some shorties pull out giving my man a plate, she could go back. I learned I'm never making a plate for Andy's man. No
Exactly, right?
They'll be like nothing.
I don't even want to make him a plate.
I'll let Andy handle that. That's what I learned.
Right, exactly. You just turn around. You just turn away like you didn't hear him. Like,
No, you can serve yourself.
Right, exactly. Well, I learned a lot too, and it was just great to hear everybody's perspective. And even though you know, I'm the common denominator because I know everybody, but it was just really good to really dive deeper, which is what this is all about, to hear everybody's perspective. And you know what? Maybe tonight I'll take out the trash.
Damn.
I like to see that. I like to see that. Yes, yeah.
Take a picture.
Let me see that. No video. Put that out on Insta. I need a story on that.
I know, I will. And I'll tag y'all.
Yes, we'll be waiting.
Yes. Well, I thank you all. And this is it. This is the end of this segment. So thank you, and we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good, everybody.
Love and laugh.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.